All right, good night, good night. Welcome to Fatherhood Talks. This is the weekly fatherhood public show where we have fathers all around talk about particular issues that affect the Black family, affects the family, and if you are interested in fatherhood talks, maybe you want to come on, or maybe you want to be in the audience, or maybe you want to join us on a Wednesday night, definitely like, share, and subscribe. Definitely something that you can participate in and be a part of. We welcome his fathers with multiple diverse ideas of what fatherhood means, because that's how we begin to develop and establish a foundation for fatherhood that is represented by us as fathers, not by anybody else's social construction or what their belief is or what they want it to be or how they would like it to be, but how we are. So I'm Ron Osborne Williams, one of the fathers on the panel. I have a daughter, and I want to welcome everybody in the room just to introduce themselves as we get ready to talk about our topic tonight.
Yeah, I guess I'll kick it off.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, LJ. Handle your business.
Thank you so much, bro. My name is Larry Jordan, father of two, grandfather of one. Pleasure to be here tonight, gentlemen.
Okay, Jordan, I'm Rohan Rodok. I'm a father of two young ladies. As again, it's a pleasure to be here to learn and to grow with Fatherhood Talks. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Daniel Lightborn. I'm the father to a tribe of 7, all young adults. And it's always and my grandbaby who just had a birthday. I think it was her 10th birthday this Saturday. So definitely happy birthday, beautiful. You know, granddaddy love you and all the other good stuff. So always a pleasure to be here with you guys.
My name is Ed Tenney. I'm a father of 6. I have a preemie grandchild that's keeping on with the keeping on. She's 2 months old, and she was born at 25 weeks. And now she was born 1 pound 14 ounces. Now she's 4 pounds 11 ounces. So she's growing and hanging on in there.
Congratulations, Ed. Prayers for healthier development.
Yeah, congratulations. Frederick Adams, father of 3, 1 grandson.
Congratulations, sir. Many blessings to the baby. Donald Jones, divorced and father of 2, 13-year-old daughter and 11-year-old son. Good evening.
Is that anybody else want to introduce that? Or you want to stay quiet? I mean, it's up to you. You're not.
This is Dr. Doom, father to a blended family of 8 beautiful young growing young women and young men and teenagers, and 1 blessed little baby grandson, baby King. Pleasure to be here with all of y'all. Look forward to the discussion.
Brother Johnny Gaspard, I'm father of 2, 23-year-old and a 20-year-old. I'm excited to be here listening on with y'all and hopefully receiving something. I'm normally showing my face, but tonight I'm resting my eyes. But I'm down with y'all.
And so, if that's everybody, I see a couple. Brother Terrell.
Travis Jones, father of 6, 4 girls, 2 boys. Nice, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad to hear from y'all right now. Right now, I'm kind of like doing laundry and dealing with kids at the moment. So,
Brother Tyrell Dozier. I normally see you guys topics weekly. This one just stood out because my mom used to say this all the time. She would always say, marry the one that loves you instead of you marry the one that you love. So when I saw that, it just sparked, you know, I lost my mom in December. So I said, let me join in and see what the brothers are talking about.
All right, great. Oh, here comes Gene now. Anybody else want to go before Gene gets settled in, and let him introduce ourselves, and then we'll allude to what Terrell just was sharing with us about the topic, because I feel a lot of people are going to be very intrigued about this topic that we had tonight. Gene, are you in already? Just want to.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody.
I'm going to show you so. Okay, I guess he just. Okay, just saying good evening. So to get to the nuts of what we're talking about tonight. Tonight our topic is marry the person you love, or marry the person, or do you marry the person that loves you? And I think that when we're thinking about, and I'm going to start by saying, when I think about very committed fathers, a lot of times ones who are the kind that are beyond approach, and who really facilitate in a way, they are the men who love the women, that they love the women so much that they wanted to have another piece of them. And so it is this concern sometimes. And I have this, I always ask myself.
Ron, before you continue, we can't hear you. You were fading out before.
Oh, I was fading out? Oh, no, that's not good. All right, what about now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Just gotta
Still can't hear
project.
Yeah, clear on this end.
Oh, let me, all right now I'm in the hotel, I'm always traveling around. This hotel internet ain't probably that great. So what I was saying is that it really speaks to a point of the idea of us really, a lot of times when men love women, they really turn out to be really good fathers sometimes. Or they look to be very good fathers because it was something they really chose to do with that woman. Not to say that fathers who don't love the women that they have children with don't be good fathers, but you just know that 2 pluses get you another plus most of the time. So let's take it around the room, guys, about the topic. What do you think? Comments, issues, concerns. Do you believe that you should find a person that you love? If you can't love the one, you want, they got that song. You can't love the one you want, love the one you with. And that's kind of one of those theories. I don't know what are we thinking out there in the father's theory.
Well, this particular concept, when I first heard the narrative, it came from a barber of mine, much older barber. At that particular time, I had to be between the ages of 12 and 14. And he used to give us those old school cuts with the warm towels and everything. Here I am, a 12-year-old, getting pampered like a like a baller. And so the whole time he was cutting our hair, sleeping all, he would give all this advice. And matter of fact, the advice used to just put me to sleep in the chair. But one advice he gave, it always stuck with me. And he was like, young man, my mom used to always say this. He said, always marry the woman. He said, don't marry the woman you love, marry the woman that loves you. And somehow that one penetrated. You're talking about speaking to a young man who's between the ages of 12 and 14, years of adolescence. So the fact that as hard-headed as I am, and it did penetrate me, it always stuck with me. So I thought that would be a very excellent topic to address, because when you talk about marrying the person you love versus the person who loves you, And being at my particular age, I was able to get that particular experience to understand that it's a matter of fighting for each other versus fighting with each other. And so when he said that, that's what it triggered with my experience. So I'm like, okay, so that's what he meant. And when you marry the person you love, you might end up fighting with each other. But when you marry the person that love you, you would end up fighting for each other. So those are two different fights. You understand? And I'm married now, so I married the woman that loved me. And in turn, I end up loving her equally because I think men, we love like dogs. People are like, what? Dogs don't love. I'm like, dogs love a lot. They love their master. And for me, my master is my marriage. And my master is the God that governs my marriage. And so in turn, when she loved me, she got that 100-fold back, probably even greater, because I am willing to die for her, even though she just on her commitment to me. So she would never have to die for the process. I will. And so with that, I love the fact that that she loved me, that was able to actually teach me how to love and what to love and when to love. And most importantly, how to love. And so I think, and particularly as a man, and this is opening up so many thoughts for me, the fact that men don't genuinely and not genuinely conditioned to love anyway or know how to love. And so the fact that he did say that, and him being a man, I think what he really was saying is, listen, as men, we're not conditioned and we really don't know how to love. We have to be taught how to love. And so whether it be the love of a woman that actually activate and inspire us to even want to die for that particular woman, and that particular child is actually that inspiration that's just that sleeping giant in us, or that emotional sleeping giant in us that actually provokes us to love. And that's what I think he means by don't marry the woman you love, marry the woman that loves you.
Oh, okay. This topic, marry someone who loves you, it really touched me in a way that I really had to, even though I came late, I had to say a word. No, it depends on the eyes or the lens you're looking through. I was introduced to this topic at the end of a divorce. I was told, if you love me, you'll do what I tell you to do. So I said, what are you talking about? And then I remember a couple of years ago, I heard in a comedy show where the lady said, ladies, look good. You'll get guys to follow you. Keep on looking good. So it can go in many different ways. Now, if the person says, if you love how I look, you will do what I tell you to do. Again, it goes back to many different islands. It could be used for manipulation. It could be used in an unhealthy relationship. So, when these terms are told to us, love someone, get someone who loves you, we have to think of the end game. What does that mean? What does love mean to that person? What is your definition of love? So it's quite an interesting thing to be told that after many years, that if you love how I look, you'll do what I tell you to do. And then I meet another male, and he says to me, some women were always dressed. Let me put it exactly what he said to me. He said, if you love the person and the whole body, the entire person, that person knows that you love them. So that there's no reason to go out of the way because you love me, whether I'm dressed, undressed, or just walking, just looking normal.
Mm.
However, if you love the person's, how could I put it? Sugar, let's just use that for a better term. That person will always dress and look very beautiful to keep you focused because they know there's another sugar across the street and they don't want it to lose focus. So, again, it's all in the person's eyes and their perspective. That's my thought when I saw that topic tonight. It was quite interesting that you use that tonight as a topic.
Mm.
That's my thought on that.
Okay.
So what's interesting for me in this whole saying, I grew up in the hood. all the way up until I left Chicago back in '95. I've never heard that before in my life. Never heard that that saying.
I'm sorry, I'm not interrupt. Can y'all hear him? Because I can't hear him.
Yeah, I hear. He's a bit slow, but I hear him.
No,
Yeah,
I
he
can't
got a
hear him at
soft
all.
voice.
Yeah, I apologize. Is this better? I'm gonna get a little closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying I grew up in the hood all the way up until I left Chicago back in '95 and moved down to Florida. And I've never heard that saying before. Love the, what is it? Love the, how do you say it, Ron?
Love, be with the person that
Oh,
loves
he said,
you.
no, don't marry the person you love. I mean, yeah, don't marry the person you love. Marry the person that love you.
Marry the person that love you. Never heard that before until today. So I'm today years old. just hearing that. But what it makes me think about is my old school thinking is you make your best choice and you live with it. And I guess that's been my philosophy, I guess. I mean, I've only been married twice. I don't have a whole lot of experience with various women or anything like that, so I can't, I was never like the player, if you will. I believed in relationship. I believed in just a communion between the opposite sex. I believed in that, and I lived my life trying to cultivate that in making myself the best person I could be for my partner. So it's just interesting to hear that, and I would be interested to know if someone actually married the one who loves them versus the one that they love.
What? You say something very interesting, Eddie, because as a non-married person, right, who's never been married, I sometimes, and this is just, listen, I could be completely wrong, crazy, out my head, but sometimes I feel that there are women who love us as men, right? We may not love them the same way, but we getting sugar from them, and that's how we have these babies. And in many instances, we then turn around to do exactly that. Marry those women. Not because we wanted to, because we didn't really love them. We realized that they loved us, and the way they end up showing us they loved us was giving and sacrificing their life and their body by getting impregnated by us. And many of us resent it because, and as I said before, I think for some of us in our mind, we want to impregnate the person that we love, not the person that loves us. So and it's funny because as we're talking about this, it almost seems like we're, and I know this is just ludicrous because the conversation we're having, as if both people can love each other. I think that both people can, but I think we're just, for our conversation's sake, we're looking at that because it is sometimes very present that I hear women say all the time, you better get a man to love you more than you love him. I hear it now fastly on social media, get a man who loves you more than you love him, because if not, you gotta even the balance. But that's something to think about, that that happens a lot. I think that a lot of, I don't think that women are out here just saying, I'm just gonna have a baby with this dude. I think they have to have something for this dude, because there's a whole bunch of women who ain't having none of those babies. They don't even say nothing about the baby. I know because I have friends that I took to the place, to take care of that. And they ain't tell Joker nothing. He ain't know dog, cat, he thought everything was sweet in the game. So that's something to think about.
I like that, Ron.
I was going to say the same thing. Ron, I wish I had that answer. It was a very, very good explanation. And again, I think you're talking about social or cultural conditioning. And I wouldn't even see social or cultural conditioning. I would go as far as to say it's global conditioning of women being more conditioned to love men as well as children, or just to love, period, than men are. We're more conditioned to compete. We're more conditioned to conquer, but to really cultivate, because love is a cultivation. And because of that, I think it teaches, and that's the whole premise and purpose of a woman, my belief, that a woman actually, and not only just inspires that, but through her experiences and through what you said earlier, Ron, her sacrifice, she actually instinctively instruct us on how to love. And so this is why we can leave a woman with a baby, and that love within the residue of that love from for us and even from us, or better yet for us, can still raise a whole man child. That's how much that love, how powerful that love is, because here it is, one love failed you, right? And you can take that failed love and make it a success on the back end with that child. That is powerful. And so when we talk about that, that's the ramification of when you talk about marrying somebody who loved you versus somebody who may have said, you know what, ready or not, I'm gonna drop this kid on your porch.
Women
Now,
love
see,
differently.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you
I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say that women love differently. So if you take that approach, what is the scale with which you determine that she loves you more than you love her? Because her women genetically, they just love differently.
But I believe, and I get what you're saying, Eddie, but I believe that there's a instinctive thing about us as men that we know when there's a female that's really digging us. And we might like her. She cool people, as we say, but we ain't really feeling her like that. But we'll get with her. What'd you say, Ron? Get the sugar?
Yeah, that's Rohan time. Get the sugar.
But we're not really feeling her like that. So, and I know she can feel it, and we know. And there's those moments where there's this girl who we definitely all up into. We can't get enough of being around her, but she clearly ain't giving us the same love. And a lot of that you can tell by her lack of response or his lack of response. And I think that's how you know from that perspective. Why do I think you should marry the one you love versus necessarily the one who loves you? No, why do I think the other way around, that you should marry the one who loves you instead of necessarily the one you love, is because if your love, and especially us as men, when we love, our love is a different level of, I guess, intentionality. Because many of us, like my big brother Ron here, who's been unmarried for a long time, there's various reasons why we wait. We ain't trying to get married. We whatever it may be that we're thinking. And when we finally find that woman that we decide to give our heart and soul to and go and sit and give a vow to, it is one of those things that is just monumental in our life. So at this point, we've now chosen a woman who may be what we love when we make that decision. And that doesn't necessarily mean she ends up being the person that is ideal for us, because she may not necessarily love us to the.
Okay. No, Gaspar, you 100% on point with that. And here's why. Because that woman you're talking about, right? Let's say the one you married, the one you love, right? You
want
would,
another piece of her? Is that what you said, Ron?
No, that's me
Yeah,
talking. You can hear me?
Yes. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me? It's Lionel. The sound system a little off today. You can hear me, Ron?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah,
I think
we can hear you. He's just going in and out.
We have a couple technical things going on, but I think that we hear everybody pretty well. We not listen. Nothing is ever going to be perfect with technology, so we can work around this. So don't get frustrated, fellas. Just if you got to say it twice, make it nice.
Ron, I'd like to add to all fathers.
I like to.
Go ahead.
My
Go ahead,
bad.
Travis. Go ahead. No, Travis. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I like to say it like this. What we condition is called loyalty. Just like earlier one of the brothers said, man, it's like it's not. I mean, like dogs. You know how dogs are you know what I'm saying, protective and everything else, and are loyal. We are conditioned to know this loyalty. We are conditioned to know, you know what I'm saying, we don't love, okay, if we get into a relationship with somebody, we looking for that loyalty. We're not looking for that love. And if the woman, you know what I'm saying, put herself out there, some guys and some guys take it as love because she have put herself out there, and some guys take it as, well, you know what I'm saying, it is more to that than, you know what I'm saying, open the pearly gates, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like when it comes to that question, you know what I'm saying, marry the one you love or marry the one who loves you, I go for the second one. I go for the marry the one who loves you, because when we look for loyalty, that loyalty, we look and we build upon that loyalty to create what we will feel or so-called feel as love. Because that's how we always been conditioned. You can tell, you like, you know what I'm saying, how you have homeboys and then you have homies. You can trust your homeboys with your money, but you can't trust your homie. You know what I'm saying? Or you can trust your homegirl, with, you know what I'm saying, with one of your children, but you can't trust your homie / girl that you just met with your children, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we built that, we was taught that, or at least I feel like we was taught that, because that's how I was that's how I was taught to be raised. Your friends are the ones who have your back, who's loyal to you. Just like in a relationship, the same thing. Relationship is the person who has your back there, who's there for you, and who don't know, no matter how much y'all get into an argument, fussing or fighting or whatever. If you get in it, say you get in jail by accident, or not by accident. Say you get in jail for something that you didn't commit. That person who's loyal, they'll be there for you, because they know that, well, they know the person you with. You get what I'm trying to say? I mean,
even if they're the person that put you there. That's just a joke, boy.
Hey. Matter of fact, you got me on double standards on that, because you know what? That is true. You do have you do build on that loyalty with your girl, who she probably get in an argument and put you there, but then be the same girl who take you out, give you the bail bond money to pull you out. You gotta be like, what was that for? You know what I'm saying? But that's how I see it.
You know, when I think about it, like you said, I would prefer that I marry someone that loves me, and I'll tell you why. But it depends on their definition of what love is. And I know I'm always going back to the word, but then in John 3:16 it said, God so loved the world that he gave. Okay, And what I mean by that, a lot of times I think a synonym for giving in that instance is I believe. And what a woman says when she loves you is that I believe in you so much that I'm willing to pay the highest compliment that I could ever give you. That is to give you a child that I'm hoping will be just like you. You know, and when they're hoping that that child, because I believe in you just that much. I want something, I want a copy of you that I can take care of, you know, and I think if she's believing that way, then that's the truth. And he's feeling the same way. You know, I love you so much that I'm hoping that this copy will be like you if it's a female, you know, and I think just that's the true essence that I look for.
Hey, Larry, I love that you say, I think it's important that we share what we feel should be a standard. Because I know that a lot of people are listening to this and saying, that ain't the standard of what happens. But that just because that's not what is publicized, because I think that sometimes we publicize a lot of stuff in our social world that's not really the standard. It's what they want to make be the standard. You know, so that what you just described is the standard. We might publicize that, oh, they do it for this reason and you do it for this reason. But the real, when we get down to the nuts and bolts of what it is that people make a decision to make another piece of themselves with a person that they are so entwined with, that they're going to have this being that both of them are going to love because they love each other so much first. So that child is going to give them this third, it's going to be like the Trinity, the mother, the father, and then the child that comes there to give the balance to that family. And people not thinking like that. We see the children supposedly destroy the balance and mess everything up. And I disagree with that. I think in healthy, clear relationships, it's like the force. A child comes to the family like this balance. And it balances everything because it lets you, as both the male and the female, see yourself in the child, in your positives, a lot more than the negatives. And that's where it is so wonderful at. And it makes you a little, I think that sometimes makes you a little bit more humble and accepting that you need to be a lot more gracious to your partner, because you can't jump on your child like you jump on your partner. You know, and children are honest. When they remember the little girl tell you, hey, that lady's so fat, that's because the child can only process what the truth is. They don't know to say, oh, she's not fat, because the only word they know is fat. That lady's so fat, mommy. They're not being vicious. They're using the language that they learn. They're not being manipulated. They're just using the common language that children use. And this is important for us to begin to recognize when we get into that place. To what I will continue to carry the banner for is, fathers, our children don't need us. We need them. And us who don't have our children are hurting. Any father here who don't have your child, you're hurting. I'm hurting. Me personally, I'm hurting. I don't have my child the way I want to have her. I hurt because of that. You know, and that's just real. Regardless of what the situation is, me and her mom, I hurt because I can't have my child the way I want to have it. I had to go through all these loops and stuff. But but you gotta suffer, because guess what? And I ain't letting you off the hook, because I ain't let myself off the hook. Because I could have used the Jungle Brothers Jimmy Hat song to remind me when I was jumping off with a person who I didn't love, who obviously loved me. That was the problem. And now this is just a consequence. Me and Rohan talk about this all the time. You can do what you want and say, I'll take the consequences. But you can't choose what the consequence is going to be. We have no power over that when it happens. We're going to get a consequence, but we sometimes just don't know what it's going to be. And for a lot of us fathers who are not with our children, and I mean, you can tell me I'm just speaking for myself. Let me just say I speak for myself. It hurts me not to be, because I know that I am missing that things that I need to learn from my child, not just the things she need to learn from me.
Well said, Ron. And fathers here, and all men out in the world and on the internet, you know, we talk about pain pursues pleasure. And I want to just add that real quick. Yes, you may call it love, but that person may be in pain and you're providing pleasure. And you ask why, what do you mean by that? Well, guess what? I live in Fort Lauderdale and she's in pain. And I meet her, I pay her bills, I pay her car payment, you know, and I feel like I'm the guy. I bring her out to go on a date. And then she says to her girlfriend, you know, that guy really loves me, you know, because he pays the bills. You know, he goes above and beyond. But is that really love? Think about that. Think about that for a second. Is that real love when you pay the bills and and let me say this, there's pain not only with her, but maybe with her family. So you're paying the mama bills, you're paying the brother bills, you're paying everybody's bills. So you gotta be careful how you define love and how you look at love. Because remember, her pain and you providing pleasure, someone else can also provide pleasure, much more than you. So we all have to ask ourselves, is it agape love? Am I paying the bills love? Is it love where I really tolerate this person, or you know what, the bills got to get paid and I'm going to hang out with this person until something better comes along? Food for thought.
Ron always, listen, hold on. Ron always got to remind us that them jokers in Jamaica waiting for your lady, Doc. They waiting for it, Doc. So you don't do what you need to do. They over there on the beach waiting, Doc. So remember, you better take advantage of your time. When it's your time, you better take full advantage. Because them jokers over there in Jamaica, y'all waiting, dog. Y'all just waiting for the girl trip, family, y'all waiting.
No, that's good. And that's the thing about it. Just talking about this topic of love in general, men, you understand, men, particularly Black men, but men from different walks of life, different experiences. We just to address this because we talk about wholeness now. We're not just talking about being fathers. You understand? Because I'm like, listen, you could be a father, and if you're not with that mother, it's still incomplete. But now we're talking about the complete man. You understand? And so when we talk about love, to talk about love is to talk about the complete man. And you have to, first of all, be ready to love, because if you didn't want at least want, which means to recondition your mind to really know what love is. And I understand loyalty, but there's no loyalty without sacrifice. Let's understand that. You don't understand nothing else. Love is more sacrifice than it is loyalty. As a matter of fact, the sacrifice is just the loyalty in reverse, right? It's the outcome of loyalty. And so with men, we understand loyalty in the external aspect of it, which means we know how to die for our friends, we know how to die for our homeboys, we talk about we know how to die for our children. But the thing about it is, the odds on dying for all of these guys are very, what you call 80-20, right? But when you talk about really applying love on a daily basis, that type of sacrifice on a daily basis, where it becomes at least a 50-50 or even a 60-40, right? For things that's worth sacrificing, like a child support check. You understand? And when you understand, and we will be ready to sacrifice that woman and that child for a child support check versus we're getting ready to, versus sacrificing your life for what's worth it. And so we really have to recondition ourselves, because I see guys fall apart just on child support. And then saying, oh, I know out of love, I would have died for my child. And when the same mouth, I would have died for my child, and get a child support check and getting ready to sacrifice the mother and the child. And so that's what I mean by when we talk about the conditioning. The conditioning, yeah, it sounds good, because for the most part, our philosophy is television driven. It's not really divine driven. It's not really authentic driven. Most of that stuff we're fed. And most of the time, most guys will go their whole life just learning who they are before we can find out what we really and who we really need to be. And so this topic of love can really reveal something deep. And I can't even wait to see how we peel this onion back.
Going into what you're saying, like one, I agree. But don't confuse loyalty with love. And a lot of times people will confuse that loyalty with love. For me, loyalty, and one of the examples was given where you have that woman that's going to throw you in jail, then bail you out. That's not the type of loyalty I want. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that toxic loyalty. So don't confuse loyalty with love. A lot of times we look at someone who's there for us because they care about us at a certain level. So yeah, you can equate that to a certain level of love, but it's not the type of love that you may want for the long term. And that's the thing that when we look back at the example that Ron gave when it came to love, that woman that loves you and you know you love her, but you don't have that same love for her that she has for you. And so you're just using her for the time being until you can find something else. Well, now you're out there chasing love. And that's the thing. Sometimes we don't realize love hits you when you're not expecting it. You don't go searching for love. Love finds you. You end up loving someone who you say, you know what, that is not even my type of woman, but just something about her is drawing me to her. The way she walks, the way she behaves, how she carries herself, the way she speaks to others, the way she treats people, and in turn, how she treats you. And you start falling in love with the personality, not the attributes. And there's where the difference lies when we start talking about love and start getting deep into love is, do you love the attributes or you love the personality? Do you love the way she makes you feel mentally, or is it just physically? See, because there's different types of emotional types of love that you go through. And so once you start to understand love, like Warren was saying, it's so complex. When you start to understand it and you start to realize who you are as a person and what you're looking for out of that other person to love you. Because one thing about that phrase is we tend to look at it and say, love the one, don't love the one you love, marry the one who loves you. We're forgetting that the one who loves you is going to make you love her by the way she treats you. And so it's going to be a reciprocity that happens. Because let's face it, when you meet a woman and you meet the right woman, generally they say a man knows when he's going to marry a woman from the first time he meets her. And so you know where that person is going to fit into your life. Whether it's just going to be a booty call, it's going to be long-term, or it's going to be for life. And you notice I said long-term and for life, because sometimes we get stuck in a relationship that we shouldn't be in for a long time before we realize and mature ourselves out of it to find somebody who we want to be with for life. And so you have to start really delving deep, like one was saying, is delving deep into who you are as a person to understand the different types of love that there are out there and which one are you willing to give out and which one are you willing to sacrifice for? Because let's face it, love is a sacrifice. To be there every day is a sacrifice. To continue to put yourself out there for the significant other, your kids, it's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing time, you're sacrificing patience, you're sacrificing everything. But the love that overflows from it hides all the sacrifice because you have that sense of this is where I want to be, not where I have to be.
Well said.
Let me pose a question to everybody here tonight. On Wednesday, we had some new guys come on, and there was a question that was asked within that group. And I think that I would love, because a lot of you guys some of you guys wasn't there, but I would really love to kind of hear this idea of where because we're talking about love and we're talking about sacrifice, we're talking about these different types of things. And so the question that the brother asked us in a group is, if only one person could survive, it was between yourself, your children, or your wife. Who would you save? And we went into a lot of people gave a lot of justification to that, but I know we have some real high steppers on here, so I definitely want to hear what some of their thoughts. We're gonna hear some of that thought. If you had to say, and I would say, and this is really being as a father, regardless of if you're married or not married, would you save your mother's child? Would you save your child, or would you save yourself?
I answered that, and I told him I would save my child. And of course, he had his response to that one. And a few other people said the same thing, and he had his response to it. And I didn't delve deep into why that's what I chose, but I chose that because a lot of times what you have to understand is, you by choosing, for me, this is personal, by choosing the child, you're choosing to allow your child to continue on to experience life, right? Where you've already done all that. You've been there, done that. The person that you're with has experienced life. That child hasn't had a chance to experience life and to live and to go forth and have a family of their own if they so choose to. And so what you do by saying, I'm going to not save that child, again, this is my personal opinion, is you're denying the next generation to be able to thrive. And so that's why I picked how I picked. Mm-hmm. It's about furthering a generation, allowing another generation to thrive, and allowing another generation to continue on.
And I think that one of the confusion parts initially was, and just so you guys who want to hear, so you get a good understanding, the question initially I thought was, if you had to choose between your children or your wife, you weren't included, right? If you had to choose between your children or your wife, who would you save? And I said that's one of the most stupidest. And to me that's stupid, because guess what? If you save your wife, you might as well have killed yourself. Listen, she will never forgive you. You will not have to me, in my mind, you will not have the peaceful life that you think we're gonna have some more. No, because we know that mothers, if it came to that moment, they would sacrifice their life. They would sacrifice our life in a minute. Get them out of here.
No, that brings another school of thought, Ron, because when you asked the question, first of all, I went straight to that. I'm like, no, I would save my wife or the mother of that child first, because I know at any given point she would give her life for that child. Mm-hmm. And so it depends on also the age of the child. If the child can't fend for himself, it would be beneficial for me to save the mother, because if I die and she die, then the survival of that child is doomed any damn way. Mm-hmm. And so the reason the mother becomes an even greater asset, rather. But I've had this in my own personal life, and I guess I never thought about it, because I can pose the question this way: when it comes to your children, who would you prefer to leave first? Would you prefer you die first or the mother die first? And that's a real, more practical question, because I had to face that myself when the mother of my son, my youngest son, passed away, breast cancer. And unconsciously, notice I said unconsciously, I always thought I would leave first, unconsciously. And I don't know whether it's just by because I'm a man, and I suppose, you understand, the makeup of the man should leave first. Or I think that my children would have been better off with their mothers than they would me. So if anybody can make that sacrifice first, it would have been me. But when God chose to pluck her up as the sacrifice first, that left tapped some emotions and some feelings I never felt before in my life, which means I hurt worse when she died than my own mama. That's how psychological it was. And because I was prepared for my mom to die, we had closure. But it was so much unfinished cultivation and contributions and closure that didn't happen with his mother. And because of that, it left a huge void. I know if it left a void in my life, it definitely left a void in his life. And I didn't think I would have enough to love him like he deserved to be loved as a child.
We listen, we can sit, people, and I say this all the time, people sit on stages and make all these statements, but our individual stories can't be manufactured. You can't because it's too complicated. The human being is too complicated. Here it is where and if we just think about it, Lana said that when the mother of his son died, lots of people say, "Oh, I'm gonna just feel into him and he'll be okay." He can't be okay because you ain't all that can be filled. And I say this to a lot of parents, you can't fill in the spot that the dad is not there to provide. You got to go get him. Or at least have the kid call him on the phone and say, "Hey, daddy, will you come pick me up?" Because it's very hard to leave that gap, because that gap gets filled with something. And a lot of times it's not a good energy, not a good positive space, it's not a good anything. Sometimes it becomes a cancer and kind of destroys that young person, from within. And we don't even think about it. We just say, he just, and then we later hindsight 50-50 say, maybe we should have got him involved with his fathers a little bit more. Maybe he should. No, but I say, fathers, you should be pre-thinking this yourself. You need to be proactively saying, my child is out here in the wilderness.
Brother Ron, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I think, and this is just me, man, I think love is like the biggest disappointment in everyone's lives. And I say it because the things we love, we know are gonna get taken away from us. Growing up, we love our parents, but the age gap between, a parent and a child, more times than not, that parent passes away first. And when I look at the dynamics of my household, my wife and my kids, like, honestly, I don't think I'd be able to go on if something happened to them before it happens to me. I've had homeboys die growing up in my teenage years, in my early 20s. And to this day, it's like not a day goes past that I don't even think back and be like, damn, what we'll be laughing about today. Or, you don't have those relationships anymore. So I kind of equate it to like Tom Hanks in The Green Mile. When he worked on the death row floor, or when they was taking people to the electric chair. But his curse at the end was he lived a very long life to see everybody that he actually loved die before him. So that's just my thoughts when it comes to love and just how would I feel about my family. Who would I choose first? And man, that's a tough one, but obviously I choose my kids to stay here if I had to pick between me, my wife, and my kids, because like one of the other brothers said, they haven't experienced life yet. So I would choose them.
And even on that, we as human beings, especially as men, many of us think of our legacy, what it is that we're leaving. And your children are that for you. They are your representation on this earth. I remember one thing I tell my son and my daughter all the time: when you leave this house, remember who you represent.
You don't just represent yourself. You representing who God is, and you representing Johnny Gaspard. So don't act a donkey out there in them streets. And my kids always said that, and I said that to them all the time, and it was more so because I understand that when you are no longer here, there's still your name, there's still your legacy. And you're right, they haven't lived. So yeah, I would definitely, and I think the average person who's even thinking through that process may choose their children. I think that would be reasonable to understand why they would. When Chad said love is the greatest disappointment, man, I want to put that on a t-shirt. I want to tweet that. The understanding of where he's coming from, even though I understand what the word tells me, LJ, that God is, right? It's still hard when you understand that everything you do love will eventually leave you at some point, as far as a person who you will hold on to. So I just wanted to tell Chad, thank you for that deep phrase right there. I'm gonna have to tweet that later. If you don't mind, I'm gonna borrow it, put it on a shirt or something. And if I make a few dollars, I'll send him some royalties.
I appreciate it.
But that's my thing on that, Ron.
Well, to add to love, I'm Johnny. That word is so deep. It can move mountains, more or less. That word love, how it is said, and sometimes how it is abused. As a father who went to court in the Broad County Court, I remember they told me, "Don't use the word love." I said, "What?" They said, "Won't go into court and use the word love." So I said, "Okay, because some folks it's all about money." But I remember saying to the judge, "We both love our children, and that is why we're here in front of you today." So love can also be used in a scenario where there's even fight or you're advocating, because it's such a powerful word. When I saw the judge, what word would I say? Like Tyson, he got into his muscle and he got, because he's ready to engage in a fight. And when I use the word love, he sat back in his chair, because he was ready for a fight. I wasn't ready for a fight. I was ready to advocate for my child, and the mother was too. So love can be used in many different scenarios. It can also be used to diffuse a situation. So that's one thing guys think about that. That word love, when used properly, and if you actually mean the word love, walk with it, like a flyer. It's part of your value system. And even in the court where, I saw that heavy door, they have a heavy door at the courthouse, man. You can't run out through that door, bro. The door is like 300 pounds. But the story is simple. You're in this room and you said you gotta do what you gotta do for your child.
Rohan, you said something powerful, and I want us to hear that about love. And as Rohan was saying, I thought that, and I thought about, a lot of times that becomes our fight. Our fight becomes the love with the other person. Like what my representation of love is and what theirs is, may not be seeing eye to eye. Just like talking about the 5 love languages in relationships. And I'm going to go into love therapy stuff right now. That you have the 5 love languages, but one of the complex issues with that is my way of expressing maybe my love language may not be the way that I want to get it. And so we're thinking about that centered around our children, the way we might believe that we love our children and want to express it. Our mothers may not see that to be the same way. And we may not see what they doing is that kind of same kind of love. So it isn't, we coming almost back full circle to this kind of idea of, do you go and marry the person you love or the person that loves you? It's questionable because we can't really determine what it means when they say they love us and how they love us and what we don't have a crystal ball to really measure, as Chad said, because it could be a letdown. I can tell you, and me and Rohan talked about this many times, how many people have went into relationships with love that turned violent. And they didn't know how to get out because the love was so strong. Regardless what the abuse and the violence was at. They couldn't decipher between the violence and the love because it was so intertwined. And that's, and we have to think that if love is that powerful, we have to be careful with it. We have to be mindful of what we're doing and how we play with love, because it can be it's probably one of the most important necessities that a human being needs. So we're always looking for, we need air and water, right? We need air and water to survive, and obviously some food. But you know what? The non-tangible thing that we need, that everybody, is that love. And we don't think about it like that.
Even the dude on death row who killed 1 million people, somebody loved him, that he would go home to, whether it be his mama or his grandma that would hug him at that moment where he felt down. Somebody hugged on him at some point. But you're right, Rod. We all need that love for sure. I just believe love is action. Like I tell people, you hear people say the word all the time. I love this, I love that. But I would work on the mindset that, if you love, you will show. I'm definitely from Missouri, the show me state. If you say love all day and I ain't see the action, I'm one of those people that, you know how you used to grow up back in there, LJ, you probably know what I'm talking about, you too, Eddie, where your daddy might not tell you he love you, but what was that movie with Denzel, Fences? Yeah. He said, man, love. I put food on your table, clothes on your back. That's the love. I kept the roof over your head. That's how I loved you. Don't come to me with all of that, So that was one way that people said. But even in today's world, though, our children need to be shown a hug now and then again. They want to be told, "I love you, son, daughter." They want to be felt and touched in that way positively. So it's a different way today than it was before. But like what Ron said, coming back to the marry the one you love or the one who love you, at the end of the day, you have to ultimately make that decision. And we pray that if you love the person, they'll eventually get to the point where they love you back in such a way that you both are married. How long you married now, LJ? 50-some years? See, I'm
38.
38. My bad. I was looking at the grade and figured it's a long time. But, no, man, my parents been married 49 years. I know people, my in-laws married 50 years. And, I ask them all the time, did you know for sure she was the one? And my father-in-law would tell me, yeah, I liked her. That was his extent when they was in college. But they've been through some things and they've learned how to love each other, even with all of the different, like Ron said, the love languages. So I think ultimately we learn to love each other the way we need to be loved so that we can get through the process. But it's an action thing that we constantly are taking and doing so that we know that even if we didn't love you in the beginning, and it's weird. I'm sorry to cut. Do y'all think that's why those arranged marriages in other countries work? Because they don't necessarily love each other, but they're put together and told to find a way to love each other?
Well, yeah, because Johnny, so much is invested in it. It ain't about them no more. It's about the stability of whatever families they have. And look at the men, we got the Game of Thrones stuff coming back. And that's the perfect example that if we want to look at the, fictional version, we know the modern version that happened. But even looking in Africa, they had diaries. And those diaries wasn't just, I've been involved with at least 3 African weddings.
Yeah.
And they're very interested in it. And it blew my mind the first time because I thought we was having a party. And it wasn't. It was the diary where the family was agreeing that this was going to happen. And then the man had to pick his wife out of all of these other women. He had to pick her. He had to be able to know that it was her from out of, and I was took him back to think that if we would have to do some of that here in America, boy, our divorce rate would be a little bit more lower. Because you got so much money invested in the family, and guess what? No family member gonna tell you leave him, girl, because they about to lose out. It's not. It's too much invested. It's no more individualism. It is culturally collaboration. So if you get this divorce, it's going to affect more than just you and her. It's going to affect multitudes of people who are connected through this marriage. So you kind of find a way to work some of that stuff out, man. You say, okay, you can snore. Let's get a CPAP for you and earplugs. We're gonna let that go.
Johnny.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm listening to Ron, and only voice can come to my head is that Coming to America with what do you call it? The guy from Good Times. I'm talking about, hey, this is America, Jack.
That's right.
Stupid.
Remember that one?
I think the dynamics is totally different here because, and I think that the spouses should have some type of say-so or buy-in into who they want to marry. And I think there's a lot of authenticity goes with that. That will determine whatever legacy that they're going to leave. But I think from the cultural sense or the traditional sense, I can't do away with that completely, that it's all right to have wise counsel when it comes to putting a marriage together. And you're talking about people who have accomplished marriage. And so, no, I don't say do away with wise counsel, because the average person that goes to get married have to get some type of counseling, particularly if you're at a church or whatever kind of organized institution. You have to get some type of counseling before you get married. So there's a wisdom in that traditionally, way before it became a social construct in America. So that is wise to do that. That's the wise part of it. But to be forced in it is one thing I'm totally against. And so I think when you talk about this love, and what this love, it's so very simple but complex at the same time, because the complexity is the longevity of it. The simpleness of it is the choice to want to be or do so. I'm done.
I have to say,
there was I'm
sorry,
a therapist. I'm sorry, let me cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
There was a therapist who once said, I can't remember who it is, but they said, if you love someone and they tell you they love you, never ask why. Because the way they love you is going to be different than the way you think you should be loved. And what they love about you is going to be different than what you think they should love about you. So you may get disappointed within the love that they have for you, and it may change. And so I thought that was very interesting, but it also feeds into the topic that we're having. Because one thing you should never do is, if someone does love you, don't question it. Just appreciate it and move on with it. Because people's dynamics of where they come from, their background, everything else plays into the way they love someone and what they feel the other person should give them to show them love. You see what I'm saying? And so I just thought I'd throw that out there, because I think that was a very powerful statement, and it fits right into what we're talking about when it comes to love and the complexity that keeps coming up when we talk about love and that other person, and loving someone who loves you rather than you going out and just loving someone that you love.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when I listened to the other gentleman, my experience, I just really have to say that I've just been extremely blessed. And I say that to say, because there was something inside me at a very early age regarding wanting to be in a relationship. I remember when I first started high school that I was already looking forward to senior prom. When I first started high school, and I said in my brain, I am not just gonna have a willy-nilly date that I asked 2 months before prom, will you go to prom with me? In my mind, I'm gonna have a girlfriend that I have committed myself to, that when I ask her to the prom, it's I don't know, I looked at it completely different. So I actually pursued women in high school that I knew I could be committed to that by the time it was prom time, I would have no problem securing a date, and I was gonna enjoy the heck out of that prom, because this was gonna be somebody I wanted to be with and wanted to enjoy at that prom. I had that type of mindset, and so much so that I met this she was my first love. I met this young lady in my junior year. We dated until she went off to college. So she went to my prom, and then I went to her prom. She was a year younger than me. But the reason why I say I'm extremely blessed in my experience is because I had like this tunnel vision of commitment, which I interpreted as love. So that after that relationship broke off, my next pursuit of any woman was based on that same commitment. There was never any willy-nilly committed. I'm not sure how to say it.
Short term.
Yeah, there were short-term relationships, but they were short-term because I knew I couldn't make that commitment with that individual.
Right.
And that's why it was short-term.
Right.
The serial monogamous.
Yeah, exactly. So in my experience, I feel like I was in like this commitment bubble, if you will, because after I broke up with my first love, my high school sweetheart, if you will, it wasn't maybe a few years later that I met my first wife. We were married 31 years before she passed away. So when I look at the word love, in my mind, it's based on my commitment to the woman that I chose, and it was never a consideration of how much she committed to me. For some reason, it just never dawned on me that I guess if things didn't go well, her commitment to me could have waned or something like that, but it never happened.
Wow.
Because in my eyesight, in my vision of what I wanted the relationship to be, it was my commitment to that woman that I just knew that I was going to be with that woman. And I stayed with my first wife for 31 years until she passed. And so my bubble experience, hearing all the other gentlemen's experience with different levels of relationship, I have a hard time, not necessarily relating, but as I listen, I'm like, man, I look at, where I've been placed, under the auspices of marriage, and I'm like, man, I'm just grateful, thankful for so and that's not to dismiss others' experiences. That's just mine.
Amen.
Oh yeah, you know what? And this is the beautifulness of this environment, because we can hear a man who has been a husband, who has been a father, who has been a widow, who has been a husband again, and another father, now a grandfather, talk to us and show us that idea that men just want to wag the tail at every dog. That is something that some men just fall into. Imagine this now. Imagine if Eddie's story became our stereotype.
Wow.
What he just told us became our stereotype. What would happen then?
What you're saying, what would happen, and I was just thinking about that. I'm like, that's not a bubble experience.
Right.
That's a global example. But Ed, my wife, just came in here and told me, oh, she loved Eddie. I'm like, hey, you love me first, player. She just loved that testimony you just said. Kind of got me a little jealous, but I'm all right. I get it. But what Eddie just explained, and I think this is going to go perfect for those who don't know. What Eddie just explained, coincidentally, and you're going to love this, is an example of what Floyd Mayweather actually said, I think, in his book, when he said that every fight he went to, I think he's like 41-0 or something, like 45 or whatever the case may be. He said, but from the time he started fighting, he said he never brought a white towel to the ring with him. Never. Ever. And so what Eddie just explained is the very Floyd Mayweather experience, is the fact that he never came into a relationship with a white towel. And so he came into that relationship to be undefeated when it came to loving that particular woman and man. And I greatly, and as a man, I can tell you, I applaud you, I admire you, and I congratulate you for that thing that so many men that we just aspire to be, even if we don't accomplish it before we leave here. Thank you for accomplishing it and just simply wanting to be it on this particular segment, man. I appreciate everything you just said.
And also, I think that I don't want to overlook this, because I thought this was powerful what you said. Your short-term relationships were relationships you decided to get out of because you knew you couldn't commit to that person. And a lot of times, guys don't realize that they need to get out of these short-term relationships that they don't plan on committing to. But you had the forethought and the sensibility at such a young age to say, this isn't for me, I'm bouncing. You're not the right one, I'm leaving. Regardless on, you know, a lot of times men get trapped because they have a false sense of commitment to something because of the pursuit, the capture of it, the sense of, now that I got it, it wouldn't be right for me to just let it go. Let me see where this can take me. But to have the awareness to say, you know what, this isn't it. I know we've been together for this long, but I just don't feel it. I'm gone. And that's a maturity. That's a maturity that a lot of people don't have.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah.
Gene, and I just want to say this to everybody. We are making what Eddie's saying like is not the normal. And I think Eddie will. I mean, I think that I'm saying that as a therapist who works with a lot of couples, and know a lot of married people. There's a large majority, but we're talking about what is publicized, what is said to be the norm. There's a way. We have a wave of men out here who think just like that. They're looking for their right wife. They're looking for the one to spend their future with. They're looking for the one to get married and have their children and move on with. And if that means that we have to also take some, what I like to say, what I call some restraint to maintain that consistency, because there's a lot of distractions, not just from the women, but also from our partners and our friends. And then there's this other view of it that, well, you gotta be all the way on the extreme if you're gonna do something like this. And that's not a stream. A stream is saying, if you know you want a job, you're gonna do everything you can do to get that job, and you're not gonna stop until you get that job. So why couldn't that be the way we do with our relationships? So I just want to emphasize that hearing this, and because people will say, oh wow, no, there's a lot more people. We just Ed is the guy that's on here. Listen, Ed is the guy on here to tell us that. And it is a lot of different situations that occurred that makes these things not happen for some other people who would like to. I consider myself to be that kind of person, so I haven't got married yet, and I probably wouldn't have had a kid, because I wanted to be married and have a kid. But again, you can't. Again, consequences.
It's not too late, Ron. It's not too late.
I didn't say it was not too late, brother. It's never too late to get married. You get married at 65, brother.
Ron.
It's a nice get you one of the ones that you like, nice tenderoni, about 36.
Again, I go for the mind.
Listen. Hey, let me just tell you something, brother. My dad, God bless his soul, has a son younger than my daughter because he got married to a wife that was younger than me, younger than all of my.
Wow.
So, brother, I know it can happen.
I hear that.
Let me say, Ron, that's a whole different topic, but that's a direction that I'm thinking. But let's move on. Johnny,
yeah.
Johnny, you mentioned about the couples that are fixed or arranged marriages. I have two friends that I've invited to the program many times, over and over, and they have a situation like that. He's run out of the house and got to the mall, called me that she want to beat me up. I just wanted to know that that kind of relationship, we call arranged, they go through the same hurdles like the non-arranged relationships. But there's one thing that I noticed different with that mindset or that culture. They are committed to the children and they're committed to the family. Where in some cultures, it's just like going to a Burger King. You drive through, order, and go to McDonald's, or you go to Burger King, or you go to another fast food. But I wanted to make you aware that they go through the same hurdles. I talk to them every day, but it's just that in their family they have like the mom, and he told me something like one of the daughters were they caught her having sex with a dude, and what the guy told me blew me through the water. Did you know that they called the family and everyone came, the uncles, the cousins, they had a meeting with like 20 people with that daughter. So it seems like that group or that mindset, they move together like packs, if that's the right word. Whereas we are in some other cultures, they'll be on the phone. Well, Daisy, what with this dude, and you heard about that, and so they don't come in to solve the problem. They tend to talk about it. They don't intervene. So in that culture, what I see with him, his family, they keep them on, what's the word? They keep them on track. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's what I think Ron said too, Rohan, when he talked about that those relationships aren't just about the two people, they're really about the families. So as you kind of, reinforce that statement that she got in this situation and the entire family came. So a lot of times for them, the reason why they don't make those choices to go in their separate direction is because there's many other people connected to them. And they do have a lot of, like Bourne says, wise counsel to help them through those difficult times. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having somebody you can model after. I don't know if you decide to get married or want to get married, it's always good to have people around you that you can go to as far as men that you may, reach out to give you some advice on when you're going through stuff, because you're going to go through the difficult time. I don't care how good Eddie's relationship was. I know them 31 years, they had some years in there. He wanted to choke her, and I'm sure she wanted to choke him. But they worked it out, and I'm sure there were people that Eddie could go and talk to and encourage them, because the worst thing you could go to is people who will tell you, as Roz said, you need to leave him or you need to leave her. and that's a good thing. It's having wise counsel around you. And at the end of the day, it will lead you to make that decision of, and here we go, Ron, that's my wrap up. Do you marry the one you love? Or you marry the one that loves you? Take it from here, Ron.
All right, so folks, we want to thank you because we, at every place, every show, you got a timekeeper, and Johnny Gaspar is on time to remind us that it is time for us to be closing out. So again, fathers, I want to really thank you guys, man. We had listen, if you want to watch this in the replay, I tell you, if you catch this, go back and catch this from the beginning. Then this is powerful. And if you are a father and you're watching this, if you're a wife, a child's mother, and you know a father who might need to have this conversation, hey, go down to the chat, into the messages, and get the Zoom access code and give it to that father, because we're going to continue this conversation a little bit more tomorrow, but it's going to be a little bit more explicit, a little bit more non-PC, because sometimes you got to have the good, empowering, kind of conversations, and then you got to have the more iron sharpened iron conversations, and that's what we have on Wednesday nights at Fatherhood Talks. That's in the private fathers only. So I want to thank everybody for coming in, man. We're powerful. And fathers, I want you to remember this one thing. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of
courage.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I said that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship
fathers.
Go.
Yes, sir.
And I just want you to know, everybody watching, that's not us flexing our muscles. That's holding our families on our shoulders and to share with you. Thank you all and good night.
All right. Good night, fellas. Y'all be blessed.
Good night. All right, brothers. Y'all have a great one.
Have a good one.
Good night, gentlemen.